most Canadians are getting less than half the fiber that's recommended. Why is that such a problem? Well, fiber is important for so many things. It helps regulate blood sugar, supports heart health, keeps digestion running smoothly. But the problem is, managing what we eat is already complicated enough. So, is there a simple solution to getting in all the fiber that we need? Yes, legumes like beans, lentils, and chickpeas. They're full of fiber and they're integral to the Mediterranean diet. So, today we're talking about why these simple fiber-rich foods are key to long-term health. Now, when it comes to nutrition trends, they tend to swing back and forth. Not long ago, everyone was obsessed with protein, while fiber barely got any attention. Now, we're seeing the pendulum swing in the opposite direction with something called fiber maxing. And like most trends, it can sometimes push things towards extremes. But getting enough fiber doesn't have to be extreme or complicated. In general, the fiber recommendation for men is 38 grams per day, and for women is 25 grams per day. So just to give you an idea, 1 cup of cooked lentils is around 16 grams of fiber, and 1 cup of cooked chickpeas is around 13 grams of fiber. So legumes are definitely a solid contribution to your daily fiber intake. And in the last episode on healthy fats, we recommended 1 tablespoon of ground seeds once a day, and those also can add to your fiber intake. Now, if you're working on increasing your fiber, just make sure to go slow and drink plenty of water since your gut needs time to adjust. Now, legumes bring 2 main kinds of fiber that we need. There's technically more fiber categories, but for simplicity, let's just focus on 2 main kinds of fiber, which are soluble and insoluble. What's the difference? Well, insoluble fiber doesn't dissolve in water. It adds bulk to your stool and helps support regular bowel movements. Soluble fiber does dissolve in water and is linked to maintaining healthy cholesterol levels. So when you eat legumes, you're getting both kinds of fiber in one food. Now, many foods contain a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber, but legumes are especially rich in both. Now, one of the most powerful benefits of fiber is its role in supporting healthy cholesterol, like we said. So how does that actually work? When you eat soluble fiber, foods like apples, oats, beans, lentils, and chickpeas, it forms a gel-like substance in your gut. That gel binds to bile acids, which your body releases to help digest fat. Now, normally, after bile acids do their job, your body reabsorbs them and recycles them. But when soluble fiber is present, it traps some of those bile acids and carries them out of the body instead. So now your liver has to make new bile acids. And here's a key detail. Bile acids are made from cholesterol. So to make more bile acids, your liver pulls cholesterol, specifically LDL cholesterol, out of the bloodstream. And what effect does this have? Over time, it helps to lower LDL cholesterol levels in your blood. And just to be clear, LDL isn't bad on its own. We need it. But when there's too much LDL circulating, especially in inflamed blood vessels, that's when it's more likely to become part of the heart disease process that we talked about in our last video. And this all just isn't a theory. Research shows that diets rich in soluble fiber are consistently associated with lower LDL levels and reduced cardiovascular risk. So if we put this all together, in our last video, we learned that healthy fats like olive oil help to keep blood vessels healthy, creating an environment where LDL cholesterol is less likely to build up. And now we learn that soluble fiber from legumes helps to manage healthy cholesterol levels, so there isn't too much LDL circulating in the first place. One protects the artery wall, the other helps manage the cholesterol moving through it. This is beans and olive oil we're talking about, the simplest foods, working through different pathways, but together forming a complementary combination for heart health. Now, legumes are not just fiber foods. They are so much more than that. They're nutrient dense, they're packed with plant protein and micronutrients that all work together to support long-term health. And that's part of why in populations where legumes are eaten regularly, we see patterns of better health outcomes overall. For example, one study out of Italy followed older adults for a year, and the research found that people who kept beans or lentils in their weekly rotation performed better on memory tests as time went on. It's a small detail, but again, it reiterates one key theme that we see in this series, that the Mediterranean diet is associated with long-term brain health. Now, a couple of concerns people raise when we talk about legumes. The first thing is you might hear people say that beans are toxic or they contain anti-nutrients like lectins or phytates. And yes, legumes do contain these compounds. But these concerns are actually not very well founded when you dig a little deeper. Why? Because once you soak and cook these legumes, these anti nutrient compounds drop to levels considered safe that don't pose any real concern. So, if you want a deeper dive in this explanation, you can head back to episode 3 in this series. And one last concern that people have when it comes to legumes is why the paleo or keto diets exclude them. So, keto avoids legumes mainly because of their carbohydrate content, since that diet's goal is to stay in a very low carb ketogenic state. And paleo excludes them because they weren't part of the presumed ancestral diet. Now, everyone has their own choices to make here, but the point is, even though some diets choose to leave legumes out for specific reasons, when you look at the long term research, especially within the Mediterranean diet, there's a pretty strong case to include them in your diet. Okay, this brings us to our Mediterranean style tip for this week. Add in one legume based meal this week. Could be lentil soup, chickpea salad, or bean chili just once this week. Adding legumes will add more fiber, which we all know we can use a little bit more of these days, but will also contribute to healthy cholesterol levels and support long-term health. Oh, and feel free to check out our recipe section of this series where Carleen Karst shares her favorite recipes featuring legumes. Now, in our next video, we'll talk about another pillar of the Mediterranean diet, whole grains, the carb conversation almost nobody gets right. I'll see you in the next one.